Right now, as we do every 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday, folks, we're going to jump over to our man Steve Rhodes. You can check out Steve's outstanding newsletter, folks, Mastering Probability. I just had it up here. Shame on me. I got too many tabs going on. Let's just jump right into it, folks. Right on the newsletter tab, Mastering Probability. Shame on me, Steve. I had it up here. I got a million tabs open, man. We have so much happening in these headlines. Steve Rhodes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. How are you?
Good. Happy July 4th. Hard to believe, right? July 4th already.
Listen, it's amazing, man. Today's the last day of trading in June, and this week is kind of interesting, right? We get a 3.5 day weekend, and we get a little economic data on Thursday. But hey, we're all ready for July 4th, I think, as it comes on a Friday this year. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I am. I'm very grateful for the fact that the holiday falls on a Friday, right? Always kind of gets screwed up, right? Yeah, because if it's on a Wednesday, it kind of screws us up a little bit. So definitely looking forward to the weekend. Are you a fireworks kind of guy? Are you a Phantom fireworks customer?
I love them, man, as long as I try and get a lighter that I'm keeping a little distance to try and keep my fingers, man. But yes, in Florida, we got some good ones, as you know, man, in Florida. So, yeah, we got some good fireworks, man.
Yeah,
get ready for it. Totally.
It's great. It's great because you can buy the, kind of the containers that have got the 16 or 24 shots and things of that sort. So it's just, one fuse. So it's a blast. Those years seem to maybe be over now. The grandkids are kind of getting older and so forth. But I always look forward to a good fireworks show, especially the New York shows are great, right?
Oh, you watch those good ones. I know, totally.
Can you? I don't know how much money it is that is spent on those fireworks, but it's a ton. Got to be a ton.
And we're so lucky to digress. We're so lucky here, Steve. I was just in Orlando recently, staying with Tommy for a night at one of the JW Marriott Orlando, right? And we're sitting there having, and near Disney, of course, right? We're so lucky being around, and we're sitting there having dinner. And what happens? They got Saturday night fireworks every single Saturday during the summer going on back there, and they looked like a July 4th show. I was like, man, this is amazing. It was awesome.
No, perfect.
Totally.
So let's talk about the fireworks in the market. You were talking about the S&P. So I kind of have my focus for today on the S&P 500. So apropos, this first chart that you and I are looking at, this is comes through the folks at Seasnex. They're kind enough. They're a great company in providing seasonal data. So what I've got here, if you look in the very upper right-hand corner, you'll see I've got 97 years worth of data. Upper left-hand corner, this is for the S&P 500, and I can choose any month that I want, and it'll give us what that seasonal average is. So if somebody was wondering, how does the month, well, first, usually the question is, July 4th, what's the tendency for the S&P 500? I can share with you over the last 97 years, that is to the upside. In fact, this is for the entire month of July. And we typically see a rally that kind of slows down right around the 17th, 18th, 19th. It starts to back off a little bit and so forth. So this is the chart for July over the last 97 years. This is how the month of July is traded. If we don't want to use 97 years, it says, let's just say we use the last quarter of a century. Well, so we've got it here. And it still has that tendency, Tommy, for the month of July to move to the upside. I think that's perhaps the most important thing for people to glean from this chart. Last week, when I was on with you, we were discussing the importance of both the January high and the January low. And so what I put on this seasonal chart here, again, now I'm going back to the 97-year seasonal chart for the S&P 500, and I put that vertical line on there. Again, it shows the importance of being able to trade above the January high. What's interesting also about this, the seasonal data that Seasnex provides us with, it can break everything down on a 12-month basis. And what it shows us here, if you take a look at the arrow that I've got in the month of July, and I didn't know this, quite frankly, until I posted it this morning when I was doing the Trader's Edge show, that July is the top performing month for the S&P 500 over the last 97 years. Would you have chosen that?
Maybe I did not. And, I saw that, and that's literally, before you even pointed it out with your words, Steve, I said, man, that's pretty cool, right? I'm looking at it, and visually, it's like, whoa, that is not only the biggest, it's a big leap, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the number one, I was like, so it's kind of, the sell in May cycle, right, was the thing that maybe might throw us off to thinking that. But over 97 years, the July is the most important month, so that's helpful for people to understand. This is the 97-year post-election cycle chart. So what we just looked at before was just a straight 97 years. But Seasonex has this tool where I can choose post-election cycle, so you can see each of the years here. Now, what's interesting about this is it's still we're still taking a look at the January high, that red a horizontal line out there. And what's interesting here is typically during a post-election seasonal cycle, that high doesn't get taken out until early May. The bottom, as you can see, comes in right around April the 7th. This is in essence, a daily time frame type of chart that we're looking at. Well, last week, obviously third week in June, almost last week in June, the S&P 500 closed above its January high. So typically it's around May. So we're off just a tad. It sure seems to me as if the S&P 500 is more following along the lines of the post-election cycle than just a traditional, every single year out there. And we actually the bottom actually came in on April 7th, which is pretty wild. So we are trading above that January high. The number is 6128. So that's the number that people should keep an eye on.
I just gotta say, man, that is pretty cool. That matches up pretty well when you talk about like a linear regression, whatever you want to call it, right? Our chart right now matches up pretty well with that chart. I agree completely, man. Yeah,
and that's right. We kind of use the dates more. I use it more as a date turn, but it's matching up, so it's helpful for us to know halfway into the year, where are we? If we take a look at, this is some additional indices that we follow, the S&P 500, the NDX 100, the semiconductors, the XAU, the New York Stock Exchange, the top 100 stocks inside the New York Stock Exchange, they are trading above their January highs. Now, in the case of the semiconductor index, which is dead center here, it's like right at it right now as we end the month. But if we can maintain price points above 55.25, you've got the stocks that are breaking out or trading above the January high, the S&P, the NASDAQ 100. You've got the New York Stock Exchange in the bottom left hand corner. This is the top 100 international charts. The international chart's been really versus the top 100 U.S. charts, which is right next to it. Hasn't made that new all-time high, at least not just yet. So we've got some of the indices, not all of the indices. There was a question that came in towards the end of my show, Tommy. It was, where is the S&P 500 likely headed to? This is a monthly time frame chart. It's got horizontal and diagonal channel lines out there. You can see that we're trading right into a channel line. If we come off of the 2020 lows, we can identify an A to B equals CD pattern. We've attained the 1-to-1 level. We may do more than a 1-to-1. In fact, the 1 to 1.272 would give us a price projection in the 68.32 level. The next horizontal trading range level is at 66.16 out there. So that is likely where price is headed to. I'm a little bit cautious because we're not at new all-time highs, as I just mentioned, in all of the indices, just a few of the indices out there. Another concern is that it's really when I take a look at how where'd that chart go? It's not here. Shoot. This is how the S&P 500 is trading in other currencies out there. And Tommy, the best rallies happen when we are rallying in all major currencies. And we're not right now. We're just doing it in Canadian dollars and U.S. dollars out there. That doesn't mean the rally doesn't continue. It's just not as strong as we'd like to see it.
And priced in U.S. dollars, maybe that's what's taking it higher. And if that's what it is, that's still what it is, right? We got a weaker dollar, man.
It's
the
local.
Markets.
That's right.
It is. It's local. I love it. Steve, that was awesome, man. Thanks so much. Have a great 4th.
Thanks, Tommy.
We'll talk to you next
Take
week.
care.
Stay tuned, folks.